Hi everybody, my name is Mads Barnkop from Kaizer Power Electronics. About half a year ago I promised you a teardown of a complete X-ray system. So today we start with the X-ray head. This is part 1. Here we have the X-ray head itself. On the sticker right here we can say it says it's constructed in July 1985. So this makes this a good 15 plus 19 years old. So that's 34 years old. The model number is a Siemens P125/30, and we also see that the tube is a P125/30. So this means this is a 125 kilovolt, 30 milliamp head. At the front here we have the collimator with the shading parts that can be adjusted on these dials in order to adjust the beam width and area that it has to X-ray on the patient. Then at the back here we have a plastic housing, and inside we have a aluminum housing where the tube itself is situated, and also the high voltage transformer. Now this is all in oil, so I will have to at some point try to get the oil out and preserve it. Of course, I will wear gloves in case it contains PCB. Yeah, let's try to get the shielding off and see if I can remove the collimator and see how far we get if there is a oil plug so we can drain the oil from the unit. With all the shielding removed, we can see that there is a high voltage supply over on the left side here. There seems to be a oil screw here, or at least where I can open up. Maybe it's a suction point for doing the vacuum of the transformer itself once it's filled with oil. And then we have here the port for the X-rays coming out. Okay, so I got the transformer standing upright here on a couple of boxes, as you can see here. And I will have my container and funnel underneath it. And I will try to open the presumed vacuum screw, see if I can drain the oil in a slow, orderly fashion. There is of course no guarantees. Let's just slide this in here. Just at the tipping point, but it's coming loose, so and we have oil flowing. I'll have to clean my tools anyway, so not much reason to try to not get that too dirty. Just stand here in the okay, so it has a little spring action, and that also makes sense as it if it's a vacuum port, as it would have to once you have vacuum it should shut close. Okay, so that's not ready to open by hand yet. It's coming very loose now. Okay, that was okay, so it has a contra valve sitting here that it won't just spit out the oil, because it does need a little pressure in order to stay open. So I'll just have to get a vise, a quick grip here. there it goes. So yeah, that will probably take an hour or so before that has drained. So yeah, I will return once the oil has drained and we can open the lid itself. The oil is still running smoothly here 1 hour into draining the tank. And as we can see down here, we are up to over 7 liters of oil so far. So yeah, that's a bit more than I expected. So I will leave this running for some longer time, maybe over the night, and we will see tomorrow. I have drained a good 8 liters of transformer oil from this. So it's time to remove the upper shield here. First, let's see what we have beneath the cable shield here. Could also look underneath the aluminium shield there, but that's okay. So there's a nice little connection panel here. There's also a high temperature cutoff. Maybe a pressure sensor here. Here are some high voltage spark gaps. Yeah, we'll just keep those in place unless they go under out. I think it's safe to assume that this does not go anywhere inside the tank. But it's merely a safety precaution against high voltage into the control lines or measuring points. So it will short out to ground and trip the safety circuit. Certainly seems so. As we can see, all these spark gaps are all connected up to the ground wire here. Ground wire actually goes over, okay, that's this one. So it would ground any of the circuit or any of the control wires here if there is a high voltage flash over. So that's perfectly normal, makes sense. Just want these like that. Okay, so let's get all these removed. We might as well just remove this little aluminium shielding in front of the output port of the X-ray tube. Now this is what is called the inherent filtering of the X-ray head itself. It was stated that it had 1 millimeter, or was it 1.5 millimeter of inherent shielding, and that's the little plate that we see here. See, that's probably one millimeter. Oh, maybe this is. Yeah, we can see down here it says 1.5 mm AL. So actually that is further down. So there's a little locking ring here. This is actually the first time I'm taking X-ray head apart. Here you can see it has 0.5 millimeter aluminium beneath this little funnel, and then there is an additional 0.5. Two more. So 1.5 millimeter aluminium, and here we have the window down to the tube. So I actually think that the size of this and the energy level, that this is one of the X-ray tubes with a rotating plate. So where the beam comes out, it actually hits a rotating plate, so as that it does not burn a hole in the plate, but as it rotates, it will have 360 degrees full plate that keeps changing, so it can also cool off. And also, yeah, it'll last longer, but we should, if it's a very used unit, we should be able to see a track on this rotating plate. So let's try to lift this. The whole heavy assembly is probably sitting on the plate here, so we'll weigh a bit. Yep, that's heavy. Okay, so that's looks like it has to come off pretty straight up. Yeah, that was the sound of a lot of oil remaining. Wow, that's something. And here we can see the huge tube, the circular one we have in here. There is a the gray shielding that we have here is a shielding tube around it. Just look at the size of it over here from the end connector here. Goes all the way up until behind the transformer here. Now the high voltage supply here is quite interesting because we have two step-up transformers from the square wave DC from the inverter, and that actually steps up the voltage through these high voltage rectifiers that we have here and also over here. These are center taps, so we get two step-ups, full wave DC, and then these are fed into the blocks you can see underneath here, which are high voltage multipliers. Now there is one there and one here, so those are also center tapped, but that's not enough. There are also, it might be a filament transformer that we have over here at the back, which we see connect up to here. Or maybe that's an additional multiplier, I'm not quite sure. There's quite a bit of oil on everything still, so I'm not too keen on touching it. Also, there is some very long tube sitting here at the back. Not quite sure what that is, but looks to be something that's encapsulated. Yeah, that's quite hard to see right now. I need to make this drip off some more and wipe it down for oil so we can take it further apart. With all the oil drained from the X-ray transformer tank, it's important that you get your two rubber gloves, 4 eggs, 200 grams of sugar, and you get this into a nice... We really want this to get nice and airy and fluffy. Oh wait, that's for my other channel. Cut. As much of the oil has dripped off now for half a day, so I will try to turn it around upside down so we can see all the nice hardware components. So, rubber gloves on. I do expect a bit of oil to still spill out. As not all small cavities and such could be emptied from just having it standing one way, but that's not that bad. I can just grab another cloth here. Okay, that was a tiny one, but to wipe down some of the excess oil here that has gathered while it was over the tank here. Let me just get the tank out of the way. Try to turn it a bit around. So here we can see the two step-up transformers. Underneath here we have the multipliers, we have the tube in the middle. Now on the other side there was this weird looking tube. This one. Ah, that's actually a oil filter. That's where I drained the oil through, because it goes over here to the, you can hear it breathe through the hole where I tapped the oil out. Seems to be some kind of rubber tube though. Not quite sure what the purpose of that is. Maybe someone can tell. What is the purpose of a long sealed rubber tube in the oil inlet in a vacuum potted transformer, or oil filled transformer that has been vacuumed down to remove the gases? So you might have noticed that I ripped my first pair of gloves. Handling tools with these thin cleaning rubber gloves is not perfect. I should really buy me some proper thicker ones meant for working with tools. So all screws are now removed, and let's see if we can get this tube out. And we can talk about all the power supplies and such afterwards. Now this is the filament transformer. This is what supplies the, it was sitting with two small banana jacks there. I see in here, it seems like it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 turns of a silver wire maybe, or just silvered copper, sitting in a, I don't think it's a lead housing because it's not that heavy, so maybe it's just aluminum. But now we should be able to get and here we have it, the whole tube assembly. And what we have here is actually, down here we have the, okay, where did those banana jacks go? They went down there. Okay, that's just for the supply to the filament transformer. That's what the two banana plugs were for. The primary side, and that's the secondary side, which goes into the tube. And those two connectors actually go where? Okay, so that's just a connection point to these two wires. So this is the filament. Here we can actually see the spinning plate that I was talking about. It's actually moving when I move this, and it's really radiated. There's a thick, clear indication of being bombarded by radiation there. That is really worn down. Now, the way this is driven is that the motor sits inside a vacuum of the X-ray tube. But if we look at this, this is actually the outer part of the motor. So we have the stator out here, and we have the rotor of the motor inside. So this is actually the outside part of the motor. And by driving this, we can make that rotate. And you will have the cannon here, or the iron source. And then down here we have the anode connection, which goes up to the plate here. That's a nice big tube. But taking this further apart, I guess this can be taken off. But else, I guess it's better to keep as one unit, as this actually belongs together. Now let's put this to the side. Let's see, there's not really much else we want to see on the main plate here. Other than maybe we can see what that little sensor was there. Yeah, that's probably a pressure sensor. So if the oil started to cook without the temperature sensor being able to see that it's gotten too hot, the pressure sensor would find out that something is clearly wrong inside the tank. And all these plastic parts, well, that's just garbage now. Been sitting in oil for 40 years, that's not really reusable for anything. And this, yeah, that's just the filament transformer. That's of course nice to have, but yeah. Depends on what voltage it's driven by, and so it's probably easier to find your own source if you want to power that up again. So now let's have a look at the high voltage supply here. Now it's more clear to see that we have two primary wires coming into the two transformers here. And we can see how they form up a full wave rectifier, which is probably midpoint grounded. I'm not quite sure if these were actually grounded, but it would make sense to make it midpoint, as that helps a bit with the insulation compared to the ground potential. Now the big multipliers here, they're all potted, so we're not going to take those apart. Let's see what it says down here. Yeah, that's not really any giveaway. But just from the size of these, I would say they're maybe 2 kilovolt, rate of 2 kilovolts. So if we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 16 kilovolts, so that's maybe 10 kilovolt just to have some headroom. So we are outputting 10 kilovolt from these, and then that would make these, yes, that should have to step that up 12 times. So maybe these are 12-staged multipliers, but I would need an X-ray of these. But yeah, I took it apart. So we can't look inside those, but these will for sure make some good fun in another video. I guarantee you that. Now let's take a look at the measuring circuit up here. Let's just cut that wire so we can get these boards out. Take a look at these. Here we have some high ohm resistor for measuring the high voltage feedback, and over here we have 1K5. That was connected to the filament, so maybe some kind of high voltage bias back into the filament. I'm not so familiar with that, how that works. But we have the same over in the other side, and that for sure did not go to the filament. So it could be just a balancing resistors. But these resistors, they do look kind of odd. Not quite sure I have seen this type before, of if it's even resistors. Maybe it's capacitors. High voltage capacitors. It could be a capacitive voltage divider in order to measure it. But this also has an identical resistor here, and has a lot of small dots here. So it could be it's just a lot of elements in series for a high ohm resistor. So yeah, that's what you find inside the X-ray head of a full body system like this. I hope you enjoyed the X-ray head tear a bit more than I enjoyed tearing it apart. I did buy myself some heavy-duty nitrile gloves now, but I sure don't think I'm going to take a oil tank apart again anytime soon. So until next time, see ya.